Testing.
Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm just starting.
Go on.
Okay, so this afternoon, Melinda, you're sharing?
it's me, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Melinda. And we're going to be going over the inductive Bible study method. So you're going to be learning tons this afternoon. So I hope you got your brain power from your food and you feel energized. Because we're going to get started. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Chris should be here in a few minutes with the puppies.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Full disclosure, totally don't have my Bible with me.
I can have it
don't have
right
your
now
source
from the SBS office.
No, it's okay. I just stole Anna's.
John, do you still have your associate from?
Yes.
I don't know my name. Which is sad because I had it super highlighted.
Oh, that's so disappointing, isn't it? Yeah.
That is.
I'm sorry.
Linda,
I'll have to get new, fresh revelations today.
We actually had school source views, and so when I am not part of that school anymore, I don't have one anymore. It's sad. Yeah, it belonged to the school. Yeah, that's what happened in my Bible library.
Andrew's associate, he has it.
Okay,
Yeah, digital copy.
that's what happened to my Bible library and all that. It's all part of the school. Yeah, all my leader books, school books. I mean, I bought them for the school, so it's okay. Okay, today I want to go over again inductive Bible study. I feel like, where did everybody go? The raptured? Dang it, not again. The reason I want to go over it is not because I don't think that you guys can't do that, because you can, I'm sure. How many of you have done SBS? There's some people who haven't. Okay, and who's done study like this before in any other context? Okay, a little bit, yeah. All right. So the reason I want to go over it is because this is the underpinning information to where we're leading people through to the end and how we're doing it. And so the reason I want to go over it has to do with this is something that you'll need to understand the concept, understand how it works, and then understand how to draw people through the process. That doesn't mean that you have to be SBS, because I don't think that's true. It doesn't mean that you have to be BCC. I don't think that's true either. I think that you need to be DBS. And this is a core element of DBS. It's the underpinning of everything. And so ideally throughout each week, the whole way the week is structured with lessons and everything, the idea is to move them from observation, interpretation into application. And then they have an application assignment every week that solidifies that. And so the idea is to move through books of the Bible to get to principles. And when you get those principles, then people can actually apply, right? So that's where we're going. And the reason I want to cover this is to help just highlight it again for some of you in a different way, perhaps, and then also highlight how this might look in the DBS specifically, because it looks one way in the SBS, it looks another way in our program, and it looks, I think, like the DBS way in the DBS. So that's that. Okay. So there's many different ways of studying the Bible. We use inductive study because induction versus deduction means that you come to a conclusion based on the particulars. So it starts with words and then the context of those words in sentences, and the sentences that put together a paragraph, and a paragraph is a single unit of thought. Okay, so if I ask you about the word trunk, Ellie, what does the word trunk mean? Tree. Somebody else, what does the word trunk mean to you? Does it mean tree trunk or like this? Woo! Right?
A car trunk.
Yeah, there's a car trunk. Or this also in anatomy is called your trunk of your person. Or there could be a big box, chest. That's a trunk, okay? So we have no idea what the words mean without the context. And a sentence can only provide a small portion of context. For example, I put your computer in the trunk. Well, does an elephant have my computer? Did I eat it? Most likely it's in the back of the car, or potentially it's in a box that we call trunks. But we don't know that until we have the context, which is why a paragraph is a single unit of thought, because it gives enough that we can understand the words and their meanings and the sentences and their meanings. Okay? And so that's a basic unit of thought. So if you're working through things with your students, paragraphs are the minimum. That's where units of thought come together. Many paragraphs can form another unit of thought. We would call that a segment. And more paragraph or more segments combined into a bigger unit of thought is called a section. One or more sections combined go into a book. Okay, so if you're wanting to help your students understand the main idea of a book, you might want to, either some people will be big picture and they'll understand that straight away, but some people are also detail people, and so they'll understand portions. And so what you want to do is you want to help both of those people support each other and come to, yes, we need these details, we need this chapter or this segment, and we also need the book, right? And that's how it builds. Okay, and so with inductive study, we use the understanding of the small units of ideas to help build through to understand the text itself. Then you throw in what it would have meant to the original hearers and readers with context, historical background, and things like that. Then you move to what it means to me and how do I apply it and where are the principles. Okay, and there's two parts to the application. There's the do I agree with this principle? Is this actually true? And then there's also, well, if I think that's true, what do I do about it? Right? Because oftentimes in application, I feel like specifically when we're in a corporate time, people are like, do you believe this is true? And everybody's like, yeah! And then that's it. But sometimes that doesn't actually equate to action. Right? And so what we want to help our students do is analyze and evaluate, is this true? If this is true, then my life needs to match up with that. And therefore, what can I do to bring my life into alignment with what is true? Right? And that's where that's where transformation, that's where we're bringing everybody through this process with the Bible. Right? Okay, so that's why we're using inductive. So inductive is just the order. There are lots of other ways, but specifically we use this one because it's helpful for correcting errors. It's also helping for us to make a conclusion at the end, not at the beginning. Because if I make a conclusion at the beginning, all I can do is just shove stuff under there to try and make it fit. And that doesn't always help me examine, right? So first thing we have on this list is observation. But prior to that, it's very important, and we made it another step, basically, because it's important to invite the Holy Spirit, right? Engage with the Holy Spirit. And sometimes that's kind of like a given, and we're like, oh yeah, of course I'm supposed to pray. But ideally, that would be, we list it out because it's important to always engage in the Holy Spirit, right? Holy Spirit, you enable people to write this book. You're with me now. Lead us through it, right? Lead us through. And so that's where prayer comes in, and we need to consistently be aware of the Holy Spirit while we're studying, and therefore we felt that it was so important we put it as step one, right? Engaging with the Holy Spirit. Okay, second step is observation. So I'm going to go over it, and then we're actually going to practice, okay? But I want to just lay the foundation of thought, and then we're going to actually do some things together today and into tomorrow, okay? And so for those of you who have been waiting for all the practical stuff, it's been 2.5 days, and here we are, okay? And we're going to spend the next 5 days or 4.5 days doing practical things, okay? So walk with me through the thoughts. Observation. Observation is, what does the text say? Actually, no, what does it say? No, really, what are the words, right? What does it say? Not what do I think it says? Not who somebody else told me this is what it said, but what are the words? What are they saying? Okay, and that's a big deal because sometimes we don't look at the what is it actually saying because we've had other people's stuff and we have our own things on our minds so much that we don't stop, or it's over familiar. And so, yeah, I've read that, I know what it says. But actually, when we look and we actually spend a little bit of time, we make ourselves aware of what it actually says through observation. So many things come out of the text that you've never seen before. And there are lots of things to observe and different ways of observing, different aspects of observation. So for example, there's observation of the individual terms that are maybe repeated. There's the observation of God's redemptive plan. There's the observation of time and who's involved in the story. There's the observation of where it's taking place. There's the observation of what actually is happening, who's engaged, what's happening in that, how is that moving along, or if it's ideas based, we're observing, oh, this idea builds to this idea, which builds to this idea, right? And so what we're doing is we're trying to observe language, we're trying to observe grammar, we're trying to observe people's lives, we're trying to observe character, like how these things represent and how they're all connected in a piece of literature. So literature and the study of literature is a big fat skill in of itself, and we want to equip our students with just some basic levels of understanding that so that they know what to look for or how to look for things in the text. And so also that we can help them look for, like, okay, we're going to talk now, we want to specifically talk about observation in the text, so tell me what you see, and then they can tell you without putting other stuff on top of it, right? So what do you see? Well, I see Abraham in this portion of the text. Awesome. Okay, and then what happens is you're able to define or put boundaries on the kinds of questions that you're asking and what kind of answers you want, so that you can move them from observation into interpretation. So it is foundational. It is amazing to really need a excellent platform of observation. So the more observation questions you ask, the better it will be for your students when you move through the other steps. Okay, so observation is what is actually being said. And there's some questions here on this page that help you to begin to think about different kinds of ways to ask observations. So main idea. So what is the author's main point, right? That's an observation. Major themes, repeated words or ideas, places, people, what's happening when, and the atmosphere of the passage. So if you feel like, oh, Paul's being super harsh in like chapter 1, but chapter 2 he's being super loving, well, those don't match up as far as observations go. So what do I see and how do I do that? Okay, and then part of observation, like I said, is the historical context. We got to understand what's going on. And we're going to look at Philemon this afternoon. And what are some historical things that you would need to know about the book of Philemon, or Philemon, for those of you who prefer that? What are some historical things that you might need to know about that book? Slavery. Why? Because potentially, in observation, we might discover that this guy's a slave, and therefore we would need to look at the historical context related to that book, right? And so historical background, all those things are super important. Okay, so why do you, Anna, what do you think that we should just do it? Or do you?
No, I thought we were going to do this.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Yep, okay, great. Okay, so then the next step would be interpretation, which is, what does that mean to the hearers or readers? So that's taking all that stuff and drawing conclusions about it for those people in that time frame. And then moving into application, which is where we get those principles. So what I want to do then is I want you guys to break up into, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6, groups of 3. Can you break up into groups of 3? And then I want you to create a song that would express the inductive study approach, and we're going to present that to each other. Yes, songs.
What do you mean by express?
So, observation, I'll get there. Interpretation. Okay, so remember, observation is what? What the text says. Okay, interpretation? The individual people, right? Their time. So the original hearers and readers. You're asking why, which bridges the gap into why would this be significant for the original hearers and readers? Okay, and application? Yeah, what does it mean to me and how do I apply that? Okay, so some of you have done some of this stuff before, so get into a group with people who have if you haven't. And then I want you guys to come up with a song that goes through, that mentions these very things about these steps, okay? And then we're gonna sing that song to each other. So if you, my suggestion would be use a common tune and then go through these steps in your song, okay? The reason I'm asking you to do that is because some of you, we have different learning styles. And this will be a wonderful way for those of you to express yourself in a different way and to stretch those of you who are not necessarily gifted in this way. It's very fun. So give it a chance. Okay? Okay, break into 3s.
Or else.